Right now on News 3, a recap and reaction from last night's historic midterm election in Wisconsin.
And another shakeup in Washington. Jeff Sessions is out as Attorney General. Who will replace him? Straight ahead.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. After placing his opponent on administrative leave a month before the election, Adams County Sheriff Sam Wolin was voted out of office.
The sheriff's investigator Brent York won the election last night with 52% of the vote. Tonight, Amy Reed shows us how this transition might look going forward. Amy?
There are still plenty of questions for how Brent York will go from an employee on administrative leave to sheriff in Adams County. But in talking with him today, he said he's willing to let it go and move forward.
I'm optimistic now moving forward that we'll be able to move past this, transition past it, and get ready for January.
After pulling in 52% of the vote against incumbent Sam Wolin, Brent York is ready to take office in January. But getting there, and even getting to here, has been rocky. On October 10th, Sheriff Wolin placed York on administrative leave. This was after the district attorney said she found new evidence for a case involving York back in 2001, in which York said he'd been investigated and not punished when the undersheriff at the time attacked an inmate and York had witnessed it. This new evidence showed York's testimony had changed from the first time he gave it in 2001 to when a civil case was brought up in 2004, prompting the district attorney to give York a Brady Giglio notice. Shortly after, the sheriff put him on leave.
It was very devastating to me knowing, what I've worked for in the community, dedicated my, 22 years to the community, to the sheriff's department. Just having, in a sense, your name dragged through the mud it was very devastating to me, yes.
York said he's not sure what impact this had on the election, especially given that he won. He said he's also not exactly sure what will happen with the decision moving forward.
There's not a clear due process, guidelines of how to proceed with this. So there's a lot of uncertainty in a sense of, where do we go from here?
He said he has meetings with his labor union and the sheriff's office, which he hopes will smooth out the situation and allow him to take office seamlessly. If those meetings don't work, he's not sure. But he said he wants to move on and heal the divide this has caused in the community.
But overall, I don't want to hold a grudge. I want to be able to move forward and get back on target with why I decided to run for sheriff.
Now, we were hoping to talk with the current sheriff or district attorney about this case, but they didn't get back to us for comment.
All right, Amy Reed reporting tonight. Amy, thank you very much. There will be no recount in the race for governor. Scott Walker is conceding, paving the way for a transition for Governor-elect Tony Evers.
It was the closest governor's race in the state in decades. This afternoon, in his first appearance since giving his victory speech overnight, Tony Evers toured the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. He says he spoke with Walker on the phone and said he was gracious in conceding. Evers is already starting to plan his transition, preparing to put together a cabinet in the coming days.
I'm also looking to staff the Evers administration with some really significantly talented people representing the diversity that the state of Wisconsin has.
The governor-elect will be sworn into office on Monday, January 7th. Governor Walker released a statement this afternoon saying he offered Evers the full support of his staff and cabinet as he begins the transition process. Walker said it had been an honor to serve as governor and, quote, "We've come a long way together, and it is my sincere hope that the progress we've made during our time in office will continue."
In the Attorney General's race, Democratic challenger Josh Kaul has declared victory over incumbent Brad Schimmel up by 1 percentage point. And during his victory speech this morning, Kaul says he will ensure DNA matches from testing rape kits are fully investigated. Says he'll be serious about holding pharmaceutical companies accountable for their role in the opioid epidemic. He'll also work, he says, with the governor-elect to withdraw from the lawsuit that is seeking to invalidate the Affordable Care Act.
No one in Wisconsin should be denied health insurance coverage because of a pre-existing condition. And protections for people with a pre-existing condition shouldn't be put at risk.
Attorney General Brad Schimmel released a statement this morning saying it appears that Josh Kaul won, but he wants to wait until every vote is counted and adds that he'll know more in about a week. He also vowed that his team will assist in making the transition as smooth as possible.
Senator Tammy Baldwin is holding on to her seat in the U.S. Senate. This race was one of the first called last night, even before the polls officially closed. Republican Leah Vukmir was challenging Senator Baldwin, and we spoke with Senator Baldwin today as she reflected on the last few months.
Well, I have to say, I was very proud of the campaign that we ran. It was one that really encouraged participation. And it started with people working on issues that were close to them.
Baldwin hopes with the House now in Democratic hands that more will be done on a bipartisan basis. She plans to work on a farm bill and health care bill in the new year. Voters said yes to their school districts last night, passing an overwhelming majority of referendums on the ballot. In our viewing area alone, 20 districts passed referendums. The most expensive one right next door. Residents in the Middleton Cross Plains School District approved a pair of referendums worth $143.7 million on Tuesday, the most money any district asked for. It will pay for a new elementary school, facility upgrades to the high school, among other things. 76 out of 82 referendum questions in the state passed, 4 failed, and 2 are too close to call at this time.
Turnout in Wisconsin's midterm election is the highest on record, topping out at just over 57%. Based on unofficial totals, nearly 2.7 million people cast their ballots. In Madison, Mayor Paul Soglin says the target for the midterm election is 75% of voters for turnout there, but the city set a new record this year with nearly 93% of pre-registered voters. In newsrooms across the country, including ours, things are a little quieter tonight than last night, but one local newsroom literally had a stop the presses moment.
Jamie Perez spoke with the editor of the Wisconsin State Journal, who had to reprint thousands of newspapers as the governor's race was called. She joins us now in our newsroom with their story. Jamie?
That's right. So around 1:30 this morning, the Associated Press called the gubernatorial race for Tony Evers, and at that same time, the State Journal was already printing this morning's edition of the paper. We head into their newsroom to see the chaos that a lot of journalists had to deal with last night to get the most accurate and up-to-date information out to the viewers first thing this morning. At the Wisconsin State Journal, things are quiet tonight. But early this morning was anything but.
Yeah, it gets hectic.
Jason Klein is the graphics editor here. Like many others, he stayed till about 2:15 this morning covering the election.
It's really important to hit those deadlines.
So did John Smalley. He's the editor of the State Journal. A typical deadline here to print papers is about 11 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. For election night, that was extended to about 1:10 a.m.
We were trying really hard to hit that 1:10 a.m. deadline.
But even that wasn't quite enough.
You can plan all day long. It never works out.
15,000 versions of this paper went out the door at 1:30 this morning as the governor's race was still too close to call.
As soon as we finished essentially this version of today's paper, the Associated Press called the race for Tony Evers.
Stop the presses.
They were already on the truck and out the door essentially by the time we started the new versions.
I think it might be the first time I ever heard someone say stop the presses.
For 50,000 of their customers, State Journal staff wanted the newest information out the door.
3 hours ago, this was decided, and they had it in their hands.
With a 30-minute window, the paper had a front-page makeover.
I think we got this photo at about 1:45 this morning.
That's what you have to do. I mean, we wanted to get the most accurate information out.
A process that normally takes a week of planning.
You know, this process started for us like last week, literally.
Overturned in minutes.
A great team effort. You know, I hate to sound like a football coach or something, but it really was. We had people out in the field, you know, reporters and photographers at both of the candidates' events, and we had people covering other races out in the field. And
from out in the field to your doorstep, regardless of which version you got.
Did you get calls from people that didn't get the most recent version?
You know, not yet. After this, I might.
The Wisconsin State Journal had a team of about 25 people that made all of that happen. They were able to get thousands of newspapers printed and distributed just 3 hours after that governor's race was called.
What an amazing story for them. Jamie Perez in the News Center tonight. Jamie, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. A look at the Capitol tonight, live from our Edgewater Sky Cam. Chilly out there tonight. Temperatures right around the freezing mark. Let's check in now with our chief meteorologist, Gary Canalti. He joins us from the Weather Center. Gary?
Eric, those temperatures haven't changed very much this evening thanks to the cloud cover, but as the skies start to clear out later on tonight, those temperatures will drop off even further. We do have an alert day in the forecast for Friday for light snow. It'll begin late Thursday night into Friday morning. Could bring about an inch of accumulation. That'll be right during the morning rush hour time on Friday, and with temperatures below freezing, probably in the mid-20s by early on Friday morning, that snow should stick to the ground and could cause slippery travel conditions. Doppler track tonight, pretty quiet. There are clouds, but other than a flake or two of snow and a spot or two, everybody else has been dry. Low temperatures so far today here in Madison, we've dropped to 32. Most areas were between about 30 and 35. High temperatures only went up a few degrees thanks to the cloud cover. Mid-30s across much of southern Wisconsin, a few 40s right near Lake Michigan, but Madison only topped out at 36. And we've been stuck at 33 for the last few hours. And with the winds, we're still seeing wind chills in the upper 20s. So by tomorrow morning, look for temperatures to be down into the middle to upper 20s. Look for high temperatures tomorrow in the upper 30s, about 38 here in Madison, as skies turn cloudy late in the day. That's your first alert forecast.
All right, Gary, thank you. The White House has suspended the press credentials for CNN chief White House correspondent Jim Acosta.
The announcement comes hours after a heated exchange between he and President Trump during a press conference.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President, if I may ask
Peter,
one
go
other
ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President,
That's
I was going to ask one of the other folks. have
That's
had-
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me. That's enough.
Mr.
What,
President.
CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
Just a short while after that press conference, at the request of the president, Jeff Sessions submitted his resignation as Attorney General. Mr. Trump announced that Matt Whitaker would serve as acting Attorney General. Whitaker, a former U.S. attorney, had been chief of staff under Sessions. A DOJ official says he will oversee all department matters, including the investigation led by special counsel Robert Mueller.
Police are asking for the public's help tonight identifying a Madison bank robber. Police released these surveillance images from last night's robbery. It happened at the Associated Bank on Shopko Drive on Madison's east side. The robber walked up to the bank counter, passed the teller a note, left with cash. No weapon was ever shown. Wisconsin State Patrol officers are investigating a highway crash after a semi hit and killed a man as he attempted to change a flat tire. This happened on the shoulder of I-3990 near Edgerton. This was about 4 a.m. The man's identity has not been released, but officers say he lived in Illinois, was in his 50s. Authorities are using it as a reminder to be extremely careful should you ever find yourself on the side of the road. Still ahead tonight at 10, your updated forecast, including a chance for snow later in the week.
But first, a desperate need for volunteers as the holidays approach. You're watching News 3 at 10.
Welcome back. The Salvation Army says it is already in desperate need of more bell ringers for this year's Red Kettle campaign.
It begins this Friday, but the organization says 75% of the shifts are still not filled. Volunteers must be at least 16 years old to ring alone. Adults are allowed to bring kids of any age. To better accommodate parents, all Walgreens bell ringing locations have shortened this year's shifts to 1 hour and allow volunteers to ring indoors rather than outside.
And that cool weather already moving on in. Here's Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
Yeah, it's been one of those chilly days already, and we don't have any snow on the ground yet. Might have a little bit of snow on the ground by the time Friday rolls around. Let's start out by taking a look at Doppler track. You can see some light snow up in the UP of Michigan coming in off of Lake Superior. That's a certain sign that we're getting into the fall. The lake waters are still relatively warm compared to the cold air that's passing over them. Also some lake effect snows in the northern portion of lower Michigan. Take a look at the temperature trend over the last 24 hours. You don't see very much movement in the temperatures. Low to mid 30s, pretty much steady over the last 24 hours. We've been stuck at 33 degrees for about the last 6 hours so far. Live view from the Edgewater Sky Cam in downtown Madison. Skies are cloudy, but things are pretty quiet around here. We might see some breaks in the clouds later on. High today 36, low temperature 32, so you can see just how little the temperature moved all day. And right now we're still at 33 with winds out of the west-northwest at 6 miles per hour. Wind chill now at 28 degrees. As we look at the high temperature trend for the next 7 days, expect those temperatures to stay in the 30s for the next week, when the average high temperature should be between about 45 and 48 degrees, so we're running a good 10 degrees below normal. By the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, the coldest air will start shifting to the east. Warmer than average weather should start developing out to the west, heading in our direction for the end of the month. And 8 to 14-day precipitation outlook from November 15th through the 21st, calling for below normal precipitation through much of the country, with the highest probabilities just to our southeast and also over the central portion of Utah and western Colorado. Snow potential from our RPM computer model shows about an inch of snow. This is through late Friday night, early Saturday morning. Most of this will be late Thursday night into early Friday morning, and then just some snow showers and flurries during the day on Friday. Temperatures are still stuck in the lower 30s here. They're in the 20s where skies have been clearing to our north and to our west. You can see on weather track the jet stream basically in a west to east pattern, but it becomes more northerly into the north central part of the country, and that's continuing to draw down a supply of cold air right from central Canada and bringing it right into the Midwest. You can see some snow showers. In fact, you have to get south of Kansas City before you see really any rain showers because it's just that cold around here. Another little cold front moving through the Midwest. It's rather breezy behind the front. Temperatures drop off into the teens and single digits by the time you get into the northern portions of Montana. On future track, you can see the clouds breaking up later on tonight. That should allow temperatures to drop into the lower 20s. We'll see partly sunny skies tomorrow, but the next weather system coming in from the southwest will bring us some light snow late tomorrow night into early on Friday morning. Could see a couple of snow showers or flurries during the day. Then skies will clear out Friday night, and Saturday should be quiet with the next chance of flurries arriving about Sunday. Our forecast for the overnight hours calls for skies to be mostly cloudy, then gradually starting to clear out later on. Low temperature dropping to 23 degrees for tomorrow. Look for a high of 38 degrees with partly sunny skies. Temperatures dropping off down into the lower 20s by early tomorrow morning, especially if the skies clear out. High temperatures tomorrow only in the upper 30s. Tomorrow night, temperatures drop into the middle 20s. You can see the light snow developing. This is by early on Friday morning. Just some snow showers or flurries during the day on Friday. Temperatures get up into the lower 30s, then look how quickly they drop back into the middle 20s by Friday evening. Snowfall amounts, again, around an inch through much of southern Wisconsin. As we look at the 7 to 10-day forecast, those temperatures remain below normal all the way through next week. High temperatures for tomorrow will probably be in the lower 30s, and it looks like we're going to stay that way. Well, let's see if we can get past this here. Go to that forward.
Yeah, please go past the wind chills.
Yeah, wind chills. There we go. There's the 7-day forecast.
Thank you very much.
And you can see how those temperatures stay in the 30s through much of next week.
All right, Gary. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Aaron Rodgers dishing out some high praise for one of his fastest targets. Stick around. Sports is next.
There's a difference between track speed and football game speed. On rare occasions, you can get both. That's what the Packers appear to have with rookie receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling. MVS leads the team with just more than 21 yards per catch this season. He gives Aaron Rodgers another vertical threat. Valdez-Scantling doesn't lack confidence, and he reminds Rodgers of another guy he used to play with, except they're opposites.
Some guys are timed fast and don't play maybe as fast with the pads on, and some guys like James Jones, who didn't time very fast, play faster with pads on. He timed fast, I'm sure, but he plays really fast. So he's you have to respect the vertical routes with Marquez, and then he's made the most of his opportunities.
You know, they drafted me for a reason, you know, so I think I can be in this league for a long time. I just want to keep getting better every week.
Wisconsin quarterback Jack Cohn's not a rah-rah guy. He's not much of a talker at all. But he's the presumptive starter until Alex Hornibrook clears concussion protocol. There's no margin for error when the Badgers head to Penn State this weekend. Cohn, cool, calm, panic-free, says he's just going to stay in the moment and do what the coaches say.
No, I'd say I've tried to just mentally prepare, you know, going into places like Nebraska and Iowa, even when I wasn't playing, just trying to put myself in Alex's situation and stuff like that. But it's definitely going to be a tough environment to play. Just throw completions, that's the biggest thing. Just take what the defense gives you and you know, try to avoid negative plays.
The Miners' axe is on the line Saturday in Platteville. Whitewater takes on the Pioneers at 1 o'clock. The Warhawks won 17-16 last year, making it 13 straight wins in the series. Whitewater's unbeaten this season. Nothing Platteville would love more than handing the Warhawks their first loss. Wisconsin senior forward Ethan Happ came to school as a quiet guy who wasn't considered a big star. All he's done since is make himself one of the best big men to put on a Badgers uniform. Happ will most likely be the school's all-time leading rebounder by the end of the month. By season's end, he could be top 5 in scoring, field goals made, blocks, and steals. Happ opened the regular season with the second triple-double in program history, and his coach knows it's been a long time coming.
He's done a lot for this program. He's made himself into a heck of a player from where he's come from, and I think the amount of time he's put into that and trying to improve his game, I'm extremely happy for him because nobody's put in more time in their individual game than Ethan Happ.
We got a lot of shooters, and if you know, you could kind of tell that was their game plan, was just take me away. So that worked out well with having them knock down those shots early.
It's section 20.4.12 of the NASCAR rulebook. You know, the rule for spoilers. Kevin Harvick broke it, and he's been docked 40 points. And no longer an automatic qualifier for the championship race at Homestead. Still above the cut line, but should there be a tie for the final playoff spot, Harvick could not use Sunday's win as his trump card. Drama with 2 races to go, one in Phoenix, one in Miami. Stick around. Gary might use a 4-letter word that starts with S after the break.
From today, 500 miles later plus.
Gary's here with the final check.
Chilly out there right now. Temperatures haven't moved very much this evening. We're still in the 30s, but notice to the north and west, those 20s in the darker blue, and wind chills right now in the 20s across much of southern Wisconsin. By tomorrow, look for highs in the upper 30s. An alert day for Friday for about an inch of snow in the morning, and then chilly weather through next weekend and through much of next week, too.
Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight for News 3 at 10.
Do something good. We'll see you here tomorrow.